You're listening to the VRverse, a virtual reality podcast where two friends talk all things VR. Now, let's join your hosts, the VR Realm and Dr. Oculus.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 37 of the VRverse. We're joined by Ryan Payton, who is founder and studio head at Camouflaj. He brings us fantastic VR games. And also my normal lovely co-host, Dr. Oculus. Just like to say welcome, Ryan. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us today.
You're welcome. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. I mean, when Paul said Ryan from Camouflaj is coming on, I was like, oh right, the CM or somebody from Camouflaj is called Ryan, and then it's like, no, it's Ryan Payton. I was like, oh wow, this is so cool, because not many people, when it comes to VR studios, you say, what are the big studios in VR, and people will reach for like your End Dreams and things like that, and Camouflaj was never really at the front of their brain. But when you think about the games that Camouflaj have made, you've not missed. Like, to me, Republique was the best game I ever played on the Oculus Go. And it's come to many different platforms since then. And it is absolutely, if you've not tried Republique, you should go and get that now, because that is an absolutely phenomenal game that you might look at it and think, I don't know if this is going to work. No, it totally works. Like, it's a great game.
Thank you.
And then, of course, you get the likes of, obviously, Iron Man. Came out on the PSVR. Absolute system sell. It was one of my favorite games. I used to work for a haptic vest company called Wuja. And if anybody ever said, oh, what should I play in the Wuja? I would always just be like, just go play Iron Man. Like, even in the loading screen in Iron Man, when you just stood there messing with like the thrusters and stuff, and you can feel it in the vest, you're like, oh yeah, this game is absolutely special. They've nailed every part of this game. And then I don't think I need to tell you about the most recent one, because it is like people in VR have been screaming out for a AAA game for a long, long time, and Camouflaj delivered that in spades. Of course, I will. For those that don't know, it is Batman. So yeah, when he said it was you, I was like, oh wow, okay, yeah, this is going to be a fun day. So yeah, I anyway, sorry, I'll stop and yeah.
So I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and give us a bit of a background on. I mean, I know Doc just gave the VR background there of Camouflaj, but what you've done prior to Camouflaj.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'll try to do the short version. If anything piques your interest, like, we can dive deeper into it. But I've been making games since 2005, so I'm coming up on my 20-year game making anniversary. Started at Konami on the Metal Gear franchise, and became pretty well known for being kind of like a mid-level producer on Metal Gear Solid 4, but also for running, like you guys do. I ran a podcast called the Kojima Production Report that many people remember me for. And then after shipping Metal Gear Solid 4, go to Microsoft and end up becoming the creative director on Halo 4. I did that fairly effectively, or at least I thought so. But then about 2.5 years into it, I was let go before the game shipped, and that was pretty. That was a really hard day. It was the hardest day of my career at the time, and really so proud of what the team ended up building and the vision that I laid out. But yeah, it was sad not to be able to finish it with them. But I try to channel some of my ambition, frustration with towards this company called Camouflaj that we started in 2011, and it was just me and a few guys, and in a really horrible office in an abandoned bank building in Bellevue, Washington, in the States, but with a really great price of about $800 per month rent, which included internet and electricity. So it was good start to our humble beginnings. And as Doctor brought up, we did this game called Republique. It was our first title that was released on many platforms, and also on VR platforms, starting with it being a launch title for Oculus Go. I think back in 2017, I want to say. And then after that game, we did Iron Man VR, and then we did Batman Arkham Shadow. but lots of things have happened in between all those things over the past 13, 14 years that I've had the honor to run Camouflaj. Back in 2022, we actually were acquired by Meta, so we are now officially a first-party studio within Oculus Studios as part of the larger Meta organization. So it's me and about 70, 75 odd folks that I have just like the honor and pleasure to work with every single day. And yeah, I'm just like super happy to be here. And as you all know, we launched Batman Arkham Shadow back in October, and we're doing updates to the game. I'm sure we'll probably talk about that. In fact, I think tomorrow, if I've got your calendar figured out, I think tomorrow we've got a new update coming, which I figure we'll talk about. But I'm here to answer any questions you have or anything you want to talk about, VR, Meta Quest, Batman Arkham VR, whatever you want to talk about, get into it.
It's very interesting to obviously hear the growth of the company over the years. When you said you started a few in a run like a office that's maybe not in the best shape to now having 75 people there.
Yeah, Republic was that was Kickstarter, wasn't it? Didn't it start out
good memory.
Yeah. I admit, sadly I didn't even know, let alone back it. But like I say, when I got around to the Oculus Go, I'm sticking with Oculus Go. I'm not going to say the Meta Go. Yeah, by the time I found it there, it was, yeah, it's never going to be the Meta Go. Just my brain switches the name. As you can probably imagine from my branding, it's not something I'm happy about. But yeah, when I found it there, I realized that it truly was absolutely something special. And I'm not alone in thinking this. There's many different people that I've spoken to, and Zimtalk5 was massive. He was like, yeah, no, this game is absolutely amazing. And he spent a long time playing it. And I was like, yeah, spoilers though, I can't watch. And yeah, just from there, just the way you've progressed, it's so wonderful to see you coming from those humble beginnings to now being. I'm at this point in time, I can't move without hearing about Arkham Shadow, and it makes me so happy. And the people
me
that.
Too.
That of like, oh yeah, VR is a gimmick. I'm like, do you ever play Batman Arkham Asylum? I'm like, yeah, that game's amazing. I'm like, yeah, well, we've got one in VR. And they're like, okay, I need this now. So yeah. I just, yeah, it's a system seller. It absolutely is a system seller. You've done amazing things with that, and it is something that is definitely going to pique the interest of the masses. We awarded it 2 awards last year. I think we gave it the Game of the Year.
Thank you. Yes.
And your mantelpiece must be quite busy at this point.
It's well, first of all, yeah, thank you, and the team's well aware of it, and we're really happy when we saw your award show, and it means a lot to us. All the different awards mean a lot to us, but especially for coming from you guys who your stuff, and it was really hard for us to build a game that needed to be mass market, needed to appeal to all sorts of players, because the game is bundled for free along with the MetaQuest 3 and the MetaQuest 3S. And but we also know that there's the torchbearers, the people that have been playing VR for a long time now, and we need to make sure that they're also loving this game, and it speaks to them. And so that was a really hard thing to balance. But judging from all the awards that this game has received, which is hard for me to even say, it seems like the team pulled it off, and I couldn't be prouder of them.
I was gonna say, like, every time you open Twitter, you're retweeting like this. We've got to add this. We've got to add this. It's like, I mean, obviously very well deserved. Like, it's been probably the best thing we've had since Half-Life Alyx, in my opinion. So
yeah, right. And now we're I think we're going to try to do something that Half-Life Alyx wasn't able to do, and that's the upcoming DICE Awards. So we're nominated for 4 awards, for 2 of them VR exclusive awards, and then 2 of them general awards, which is a feat that Half-Life Alyx achieved, I believe, back in 2020. But they were nominated, but they didn't win, and so we're nominated for best action game and also outstanding technical achievement, not only for VR but for just general. And so I really hope that we can break the record where we be the first VR game ever to win a DICE award outside of the VR category. But we'll see what happens. I believe it's the big show is on February 13th, if I've got my dates correct. So we're all looking forward to that.
I'm touching things that used to be trees, hoping that is actually the case, because if anybody could,
it would be really good for virtual reality in general as well, for it to win something outside of just VR categories, because I think that's a bit that holds it back, because there's people who won't try VR and they just don't pay attention when the VR categories come up at awards. But if it's VR game wins a category which isn't VR related, it might pique people's interest even more. Like, oh, hold on.
Yeah, I mean, and if you don't mind, I'll dig a little bit more into like the kind of the awards, the world of game awards, which I need to recognize that everybody has a different system, and I'm not familiar with all the different systems. But yeah, one of the challenges you have as a VR title is the fact that many of the awards are shows and organizations. They're based on recommendations and votes from folks, many of who don't maybe have the hardware and don't have access to play the game. And so you really have an uphill battle to convince folks to vote for your game, just because VR is still a growing platform. So that's where sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we still did a great job, even if we aren't nominated for example, best story, which or best performance, like what Roger Craig Smith did, what Troy Baker did. I think they are on the long list for nominations for BAFTAs, which I'm so happy about, and I hope that they do well at the BAFTAs. But it's one of those things that we just have to keep plucking away at. Because I'm with you, like it's great. We're so happy that we won best VR game at the Game Awards back in December. But we, not just us, but I think we all working in the VR space, we're all looking at those other categories and saying, like, how do we get there? Because it's not a quality issue. I think it's more of I guess, granting access issue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like you say, and the fact that there are still people to this day that just getting into VR, like just the barrier to entry, sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's physical.
Yeah.
There are many different ways that can restrict people's access, and then they're not going to give you the time of day. They are going to give another game in that category where they're just like, oh yeah, I can just sit here and mindlessly play it on a Nintendo or something. So like you say, it is a massive uphill battle, and so even the nomination, like you say, it's an award in of itself. But I really do hope you can bring home some glass metal work. I don't know what they give away at DICE now. Something just to really show the commitment and the effort that you've put into this. I all the best on that one.
We're excited, but you know what, at the end of the day, if we don't win any of them, it's okay, because we got nominated for 4 of those awards, and it's been a really terrific year for VR. So it's a very competitive category, and I was fully prepared to not win at the Game Awards and still be celebrating with everybody that, wow, this is a really competitive year. Like, VR content is just getting better and better, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, I've been very busy since sort of last September. Like, coming back from Connect, I was like, I don't have time to do anything anymore because I've just got all of this stuff happening. I mean, people are going to call me a fanboy, but they really are. Meta really are kind of helping and pushing the industry forward in a big bad way, like acquiring studios such as yourselves. And ever since Connect, everything's really just kind of kicked off, and we've had so many different. 3S came out, and then it's opened up mixed reality to a whole new world of people. It allowed games. I've been tempted, but never been that tempted to try and install it on my Quest 2. But the 3S handles Batman perfectly. It's brilliant. And, for that price tag, when you think about it, you're getting the 3S for £280, I think it is, or something. Yeah. But when you take Batman into account, because if you're buying a Quest, you need to buy Batman, it brings the price down to like £250 for a Quest headset, like a not
Mhm.
top of the range, but it's got the computing power of the three.
It
It's
does.
such a great deal, and it's done great things. And I think I do like to just try and point that out to people that don't like Mark and Facebook and things like that. But it's all a big push from Meta, and I imagine the pride of being part of something like that is massively overwhelming. So yeah, I have a million questions, but I will. Some of them maybe not even good for the public, but yeah.
Well,
I'm
hit me with what you got. But while you're thinking about it, maybe I'll just comment on. Yeah,
please.
it's an honor to be able to work for Meta. Um, I Everybody has different opinions about the company, but I'll just tell you my personal experience, which is I was not in the market to sell my company. I never thought I would sell this company. It's something that I grew out of, yeah, like a real dingy office
Yeah.
space that I still have an affiliation or affection for those times. And my the Kickstarter we did, and all the help I got from friends and family so many times that saved our butts to build this company into something that we could be so proud of. And I wouldn't have sold it to any place, but because good to go back to where you started with Republique and the Oculus Go version of that, that was our first real relationship with the team at Meta. And the way that they treated us was made me feel like this is not real. Like there's something
Mm,
behind this. Like the people aren't this nice, and they're not this understanding when it comes to the ups and downs of game development. And once we finished that whole project, I just remember telling the team, I said, if any time down the road, if we end up having an opportunity to work with Facebook again, we will, because
yeah.
the people behind this group are so great. And that was a big reason why I ended up joining. And yeah, I get to work with them every day, and I love that.
I suppose I've also got the pull to get the likes of Batman licenses. I know you've probably been involved in getting licensed yourself, but it's sort of like an extra pull, isn't it? Like we're working with the forefront of the forefront of the best VR company, really. Like I'm just
Oh, in
supposed
terms
to.
of just like working with Warner Brothers
Yeah,
and on the Batman license.
yeah.
Yeah, that was that was also part of my job. I mean, I was still external when we started Batman Arkham Shadow back in 2020, but it was really on me and the producer at Oculus Studios to engage with Warner Brothers and convince them that uh, this team who has never worked in the Arkham franchise before, um, who they didn't know, uh, is worthy of doing an official big sequel in the Arkham franchise. And that was not easy, right? But I love big challenges, and I got to know that team really well, and we have just like we still have such a great relationship with Warner Brothers, and yeah, that was and I give a lot of credit to them for how the game turned out, because they really truly did trust us
Mm.
to and pushed us to do pretty big and bold things. The whole. Oh, by the way, gentlemen, how spoilery do you want me to give? Do you want me to avoid? Because I'm more than happy to kind of tiptoe around spoilers.
I'm not as far as I would like to be. As I said, I'm very, very busy. Okay, so what was the last thing I did?
I was going to spoil
Uh,
something that happens in the first hour and a half, 2 hours.
oh, yeah, no, that's totally fine. I'm like 5 hours in at this point.
Cool. So, and I'll still kind of tiptoe it around for your listeners who haven't started the game and they don't want to be spoiled. But look, we've got a pretty big twist that happens after the first chapter in terms of like the identity of of the player character. And that idea did not come from me. That idea came from Warner Brothers, and
Mhm.
they knew that we wanted to explore Blackgate Prison, which you see in the trailers, but becoming that character, and um, it was something that they proposed, and we took we took that idea and ran with it, and then they just kept encouraging us to go, like, go further, keep going, keep going, keep going. And yeah, that's not easy to find a partner like that, and I give them a lot of credit for how they handled the relationship.
Yeah, it was. I mean, well, well, as I say, many questions. But one of the things that got me was the. You've got to have some pretty big brass ones to think, okay, I want to go into the Arkham universe, because for the fans of the franchise, it's not always been Rocksteady, but Rocksteady have always been the gold standard for these games. And some of the games that came out were close-ish, but they were like a tribute band to the
Mm.
Rocksteady game. And then I started playing Arkham Shadow. I was like, oh yeah, Rocksteady made this with Camouflaj, right? And I'm like, no, there's no mention of Rocksteady in this at all. This is a Rocksteady, like this is the gold standard. This you've met the standard that Rocksteady set. And I was absolutely just shocked by the whole process. What made you think, okay, yeah, we can do this?
Well, okay, I'll walk you through some of the emotional ups and downs of all this, because when they called me, so we basically, after shipping Iron Man VR, we had already established a relationship with Facebook. We knew we were going to do a game with them. We just didn't know what it was going to be. And we were exploring different IP and different games. I was putting in different pitches, and there was a game that we're getting pretty close to maybe doing. And then I got a call from Mike Doran over at Oculus Studios, and he said, "Ryan, what do you think about Batman and specifically the Arkham franchise?" And my initial reaction to it was actually not positive. It was not because I don't love that franchise. I had, even at that time, I had a really deep respect for it. But it's because I was worried that we would become like the superhero. We'd be typecasted. We'd be just like the
Sure.
superhero studio, for better or worse. But also because I thought you couldn't translate the Arkham combat into VR. And the way that the story goes, I'm sure many of your listeners have heard it, but I took it over to our design director, Ryan Darcy, and he said, "Of course we can do it," and explained to me how. And we can go into details if you're interested. But I started to get more excited, and then I was all in on the
Mm.
challenge to go do this. But I always had a respect for Rocksteady and some degree of envy, but I didn't maybe put them on the pedestal of other studios that I've come to like love and respect initially, and then I started digging into the games more, rather than just playing as like a fan, but like really having to understand them as developers. And then I started getting really scared. So I'm like, yeah, these are top tier developers. I don't think I really quite understood as playing it, but now this dissecting everything, this stuff is incredible. And then we end up working with and hiring an ex Rocksteady developer named Bill Green, who shipped all of the Arkham games. And so when you're feeling, wow, this feels like kind of like Camouflaj plus Rocksteady, you're not entirely wrong, because Bill brought so much experience and so much knowledge, and has taught me so much, and to the point where like I felt like I was a student of Rocksteady, and I was like researching everything that Sefton Hill had said publicly ever, taking notes down and trying to like understand that and then bring it back to our team. So by the end of this game, um, I really feel like our team tried to be so reverent to Rocksteady, try to be students of them, and ultimately we wanted to make a game. Well, it had many goals, but one of our internal goals, I believe, is that we wanted to make a game that when the current Rocksteady staff or people who worked at Rocksteady, worked on the other Arkham games, will be proud of what we did with the franchise that they started.
I'm confident that they would. Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like you broke the games that we, as I say, we set those as the standard. You broke those down on a molecular level and was like, okay, Batman does this in this situation. Now let's do that in VR. And then went and actually executed it. And I was just all of the little bits and bobs that you think, yeah, there's no way they do that in VR. You do that every single
We
time.
figured it
Like
out.
even the tiny things of running up to a grate and then crouching so he slides and
Yes.
kicks it open. I'm like, I can do this. Wow, this is all the bits I didn't expect to be able to do, I could do, and I was absolutely just blown away by it.
Yeah, the team just totally crushed it. They worked so hard. And it was not an easy project. The first 2 years were good and fairly smooth. Third year was really hard, and the fourth year, the final year of ship, was extremely hard.
Yeah.
And they landed it, and now everybody can kind of sigh a bit of relief because they stuck the landing. But what a difficult project, but they cared so much, and they looked at the games. I was looking at the games so frequently, and the poor team is like, I'm playing the games on my Steam Deck, and I'm sending them screenshots and saying, "Hey, I can do this in the flat screen games. I want to do this in VR." Or, "Here's this asset. How do we get this in the? Here's the sound effect. Here's this character." They were very patient with me in my attempt to make sure that the game was an authentic Arkham game and not something that felt like not part of the main franchise.
Since I watched an interview of an Arkham channel who just covers Arkham games, and he put a video out saying he got to travel to the studio and meet the team, like flew him out, and then he was saying like seeing the team work, did like look at something in the game and look at something that's happened in the fact game and then go, actually we need to improve that part there. He said it was like they were working so towards like make sure we're using the source material of what was already there to make sure they give you that in virtual reality so detailed. As well, that was very interesting.
Yeah, that was so much fun and so scary to invite the most hardcore, the most popular Arkham influencers on the web to like welcome them into our office and play the game before Gamescom, and then we did it again before the game came out to play the game from end to end, and both times were so scary. Like, what are they going to say about this video game that we think is good and we think it's authentic and we think it's Arkham, but what if they don't agree? Those were big moments for development of this game, and I mean, kind of the rest is history. But thankfully, you could just feel the energy in the room that the guys were really happy with what we were doing. But we had work to do, and man, was it fun! And I was extracting critiques out of them. Uh, what about this? Or the other team members were like, okay, what do you guys think could be better about Predator or this mechanic or this story moment or whatever? And we tried to, and we changed many things based on their feedback. So that was really, really fun as well.
I mean, my biggest concern on it, and I think I said it when we were doing our game awards, was I was concerned the combat. Anytime I talk about it, like I was concerned, how do you get the fluid combat of Arkham into VR? Because I'm not going to be
Yes.
able to duck under stuff and slide and punch someone. Like I don't, I'm going to do this.
Backflip over a
Yeah.
guy, and and yet you can. You are Batman. I spent my entire first stream doing the gruff Christian Bale voice because I was Batman the entire time, and I'm like, oh, this is just amazing. I am Batman. It's one of those things, I guess, as a childhood dream. You get to be the heroes you always dreamed of being as a kid, and you brought that to a now 40 decrepit old man to be able to do this and live these things. You tell 10, 15-year-old me, yeah, one day you're going to be Batman. I'm like, nah, this is crazy, but here we are. It's absolutely a thing, and I think one thing that may now be terrifying if I was you is like, now what? Like at this point in time, you just have to close the doors and never touch another game again, because what's next? Like, what do you do next? Do you have your eyes on a particular sort of genre, or a different? You said you didn't want to get stuck with the superhero thing, and one of my thoughts was, okay, dream superhero, what game do you do next? But if you're not doing that, then like, do you want to make a fishing game next? What's the next thing for Camouflaj now? How do you top Batman?
Yeah, I mean, we've got. Well, first of all, like I was worried about being typecasted as like, a superhero game studio at the time. now I don't care if it's an
Okay.
established IP or not. I don't. It's so much fun, and I grew up loving Batman. He's always been my favorite superhero, and getting to go as deep as we were able to go do with that character and that world, I found addicting. Really, like I
Mhm.
couldn't stop. And just going back to all the comics I used to read, catching up on the new ones that I hadn't had time to catch up on, watching all the movies again and playing all the games countless times. It was just too much fun. And so we we've spoken publicly about how we it would be so much fun if we were tapped on the shoulder to do more things in that universe. But to answer your question, right now we're actually like the vast majority of the team is still working on Batman Arkham Shadow. We've released two big updates up until now for free. We've got a third one coming out tomorrow, 1.3, which we could talk about in detail if you guys are interested. And then we've got I think by the time your show goes live, I think we'll be announcing and talking about how we're not done. We've got 1.4 coming, most likely I think in February. So yeah, the team's just I guess they're getting what I asked for, which is like, can we continue to work in the Batman universe? Yeah, we're still, but it's in the Arkham Shadow space, just making the game better and better, adding more content.
Awesome. So what is happening like 1.3? What can you I mean, obviously we're not going to talk over the course of the next week or so, but what is coming in 1.3? I do want to know.
Yeah, the big kind of high level items that we're adding is New Game Plus, which I think is the timing of it's great because we have a lot of people coming in playing the game for the first time over the holidays because the
Mhm.
Quest 3 and Quest 3S are pretty popular holiday gifts. So we saw a big influx of new players, and it's about time they're wrapping up the campaign, and so it's perfect time to launch the New Game Plus. So that includes remixed encounters, enemy encounters in the game, so it feels fresh. And then that brings me to number two of the three big things we're doing, which is we're actually adding a new scene to the game post credits. It's a special cinematic that's only unlockable by completing New Game Plus. So it gives you another incentive to play through the game again. And it's definitely a tip of the hat to fans. So we're super excited to see what people think about that. And then lastly, we're adding per the recommendation from those Arkham influencers I mentioned earlier. We're adding an endless mode to our challenge maps, to combat challenges and predator challenges. So it's just a major endurance challenge for those guys. Really love doing that. Like, sure, we'll add it, and then for next month we have other stuff we can talk about. But that's everything I just listed up, in addition to additional bug fixes and quality of life improvements. Yeah, we're doing all that with 1.3 coming out on Wednesday, the 29th.
Seen
I very much look forward to that. Yeah.
when I seen it was New Game Plus, I was like, right, I'm going. Definitely got a reason to go back in now. I do like New Game Plus modes because you go in and obviously you've got your upgrade you've already done and you're not like starting
Yep.
afresh. So yeah, as soon as when you put the information out on Twitter, just a little box of this is what I was like, New Game Plus. I'm going back in.
Yeah.
I'm going back in as soon as that's out.
Good.
Do
Yeah.
love that
Come back in.
you've got that carrot at the end now of like, oh yeah, and by playing New Game Plus, you're gonna see something new as well. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I
Yeah.
say, you've got that motivation now.
Yeah, that was a change we made like 2 days ago. So that's how things are fluid right now. But yeah, we wanted to give players a reward for playing the game and New Game Plus and finishing it. So I think that worked out well.
I think it's good that you've remixed it as well. Like you said, you're going to get different encounters because that just again brings something fresh to it, doesn't it? As well, like
Yeah. Yeah, the team's just so hungry. It it I remember internally and also externally within the for people being concerned about the well-being of Camouflaj developers, because everybody knew we worked so hard on this game, and
Mm.
the game comes out and, hey, so Ryan, aren't you going to give these guys a break? And I'm like, yeah, I'm asking them to take a break, but they just want to keep working on the game, and they're so motivated and so happy to see the response to it. But when we launched, we had our fair share of issues, bugs. I'm sure you guys have encountered, and the team was just so motivated to not only fix those bugs, but just add more content, quality of life improvements. I'm in the community all the time, taking screenshots of what people are saying and then sending it over to the team. And then and this is not an exaggeration. I think we've probably, by this point, since launch, we've probably made somewhere around 5,000 changes to the game, based on, and many of those things came from the community. Bug fixes, quality
Yeah.
of life improvements, new content. That's yeah, they're just still going. They're going real hardcore.
It's about the because I think a lot of people think once it's out, you get an easy ride. If you know what I mean. Once,
Yeah. Okay, it's done now. We'll just sit and
yeah,
yeah. But
and we'll
no,
put bugs
it's
in. But even that, there's that many changes being made already. Just shows. I think it also puts a good idea out of people who think it's an easy ride once the game's out. Like you just sit back and oh yeah, we'll do that tomorrow type attitude. I think a lot of people have when it comes to patches and stuff.
Yeah, well, I think to be fair to some other developers, I'm assuming there's developers out there that wanted to be able to keep their entire team onto a project post-launch, but weren't able to because
yeah.
leadership needed them to shift over to something else, or maybe the budget for the game has already been spent and that budget needs to be put on to something else, or yeah, there's just a variety of reasons why developers aren't granted the opportunity that we were granted. And so when I spoke with leadership and they said, "Hey, Ryan, what do you think about just keeping Camouflaj just working on Arkham Shadow for November, December, January, February?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it." And yeah, because we love working on this game, we just want to make it better and better. And we want it to be one of those titles like Half-Life Alyx, like Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, that players could come back to um, later this year, next year, year after that, and know that what they're going to play is high quality, it's solid, and yeah, we just want to make sure that by the time we have to really officially say goodbye to that project and just move on to completely to the next thing, that it's like in just like a fantastic place. So everybody who jumps into it has a great time.
I know you said you looked at obviously Rocksteady games. Did you look at the I think it was made by Rocksteady anyway, wasn't it? Did you look at the very original Arkham VR, which was more like the experience rather than a game?
Yeah, absolutely. So we studied the Rocksteady trilogy very closely, and modeled our game mainly after Arkham Asylum in terms of game structure and length and kind of feature set. And then from a story perspective, tone perspective, lore continuity perspective, we studied Arkham Origins heavily. So we look at the game as a as a game. It comes right off. Our game comes right off the heels of Origins from a timeline perspective. So that was important. But to answer your question, yeah, we've looked really closely at Arkham VR and learned a lot. Integrated some like some ideas that we received from Arkham VR. And but going back to Bill Green, my colleague who used to work at Rocksteady, he was one of the development directors on Arkham VR. So that was great too, because not only did we bring on somebody who had shipped all the flat screen Arkham games, but he was very familiar with VR, big fan of it. So when I finally got him to talk to me, and I finally got him to play our prototype, he said, "Yo, wow, you guys are going beyond what we did on Arkham VR, and I want to be a part of it." And this Arkham Shadow would not be the game that you guys play. It would not be your game of the year if it wasn't for Bill Green.
But it's good to have someone like with that involvement to bounce ideas off as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what of this? You're like, oh,
Yeah, and he not only was able to bounce ideas off of him, but he taught me so much, not only about Arkham, but just about good game development and level design. Uh, and I'll tell you a quick, hopefully funny story, which is so this time that we're speaking at right now, it's my evening. This is 6:45 in the evening here in Japan, and you guys are over in UK based, right? And
yeah.
so it's your morning, and this is how I would work with Bill because he's based just outside of London. And so it'd be myself, Matt Walker, Alex Smith here in Japan in our Yokohama office, and I'd be streaming like this. I've got the MetaQuest 3 on my head, and I'm playing the game streaming. I've got Bill on the call, and we're running through the game countless times. And it's his morning, and I would have feedback, and he would have feedback, and Matt Walker's taking great notes, and Alex is taking notes for the script and the story. And Bill would walk me through what's problematic about a space, or like what changes we have to make for a space to make it feel better. And look, you just can't help but learn and get influenced by that. So I was feeling pretty good by the end of the project. Sometimes, when Bill's too busy to hop onto the call, I would just review it. I'd send him a video. I'm like, hey, Bill, I think this area of the game here, we need to do this, this, and this to change the flow, improve the design. He's like, crack on, Ryan, you got it. Like, yeah, you're really picking up on this stuff. So I'm like, wow, I'm like learning so much from Bill. Dude, maybe I don't even need Bill Green. I think I got like I think I could become Bill Green. And then later in the project, we realized that we didn't have enough puzzles, and that's a big aspect of the Arkham franchises. Those Riddler
Yeah.
puzzles. We have our rat theme puzzles for Arkham Shadow, and God bless him, Bill said, "Look, yeah, I can't maybe join all of these reviews because I'm going to build." By myself in engine, I'm going to build 30 or 40 puzzles for Arkham Shadow between now and launch. And he had like 2 months maybe to do it, in addition to all the other things he was doing. And I thought, well, given that I'm just as talented as Bill Green, I'm going to draft up some puzzle ideas for him to implement as well. But once I got around to it and I started to play the puzzles that he was putting in, he was creating like one puzzle a day, which is incredible. And those puzzles you played, I'm sure I would assume you're impressed because they're really great puzzles. I started playing as like first pass puzzles. They were way better than the thing I'd spent like 3 days trying to figure out. And I had to remind myself that, yeah, no, I'm no Bill Green, and I never will be a Bill Green.
Yeah, it's. I mean the other Arkham games, you have obviously the puzzle master himself that you had to contend with. You had to go against the Riddler, and as I say, 5 hours in, I guess spoilers. There's no sign of him turning up at this point, and I don't. You mentioned about the voice cast earlier, and that's something I absolutely also want to touch on. But I always wanted to look up the voice cast. But the problem is with looking up the voice cast, you're like, oh yeah, this person plays this person. I'm like, I didn't want to know that.
Exactly.
So I've kind of stayed away from it. But there are the voices that you can hear and things like that. You listen to those. It was the cast of the. Obviously not the Arkham series. Sadly, Kevin Conroy is no longer with us. But it was the Origins that they
Yes.
had.
Roger Craig
Yeah.
Smith.
Were there any sort of people that you're like, yeah, they're never going to do a VR Batman game, and they were like, yeah, I'll totally do that? Is there any cast?
Yeah. Well, yeah. First of all, yeah, we were so sad about the news of Kevin Conroy, like everybody else was, and a lot of people thought and just assumed that because Kevin was no longer with us, that's why we end up casting Roger Craig Smith to be our Batman. But the truth of the matter is, before Kevin's passing, we approached Warner Brothers and then Roger Craig Smith directly because our game comes right off the heels of Arkham Origins from a timeline perspective, and also because I thought Roger's performance in that game was so fantastic. I thought, look, I think it makes sense for Arkham Shadow in terms of a Bruce Wayne and a Batman that still has a lot to learn, a lot more development that we wanted him to go through. Yeah, he was our first choice, and thankfully he agreed. I remember being so nervous when I called him because I was thinking, what if he says no? What if he says no? And then a lot of the other casts kind of just came along for the ride, and thankfully, I guess, in part because almost coincidentally, a lot of the cast members that are popular in the Arkham universe, such as Tara Strong or Troy Baker, were also I had connections with because we worked on Metal Gear together. Kari Payton, who plays Ratcatcher.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I already knew all these people, and so it was easy to call them up, and I've developed a great relationship with them. So those were easy phone calls. But the one that I thought we were not going to get was the actor that we talked about voicing Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow, since early in the project. It was like a joke It was like, hey, yeah, when
Elijah
we get
Wood's in this
Elijah
game?
Wood, if we get Elijah Wood, like that would be cool. So yeah, Scarecrow's be played by Elijah Wood. People laugh, but we just kept saying it for years, and I think we kind of
Yeah.
willed it into existence. And then I put together a video, introducing myself, reintroducing myself to Elijah Wood because I actually met him uh, at a. I noticed him at a Smashing Pumpkins concert in Los Angeles many years ago, and I walked up to him and talked about video games because I knew he was a big gamer. He was so nice and so pleasant. And I mean, can you imagine? He just probably wants to go to a show and not have to talk to anybody.
Sure.
But he was really cool. And I reminded him, like, hey, I hope you don't remember me, but I did this 10 years ago. I'm back, and we've always thought of you as our Jonathan Crane Scarecrow. I know you're a big gamer. I know you've done VR. He did get that game Transference with Ubisoft.
hmm
And I would love to work with you on this. And thankfully, he came back and said he's willing to do it. So, yeah, the casting just went all according to Keikaku, as they say. And yeah, just and it's the performances are just unbelievable. And I truly mean that, not just saying that because it's the game I worked on. The performances are
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
The some of the performances, like you playing the game, and I almost kind of want to die, if that makes sense.
Yes, those game
Just to
over
see what
sequences are so
happens.
good.
Yeah, exactly. So I just kind of want to see who's going to say what to me when I die. So yeah, it's all just I dig these games so very very much. I really do.
Well, I think with virtual reality, it's
I
very.
got time for maybe one more
I was going to
question,
say, I'm
and then
conscious of
unfortunately
time.
I'll have to.
Is there anything that you want to, either a message you want to get out, or anything that you think needs to be said?
I mean, there's so much. I've been the face of this game since we announced it not that long ago. So I guess I could just talk about that journey if you don't mind,
Yeah.
which
Please,
is
please.
when we. So first of all, very few games, especially at the caliber and the budget we're at, very few games. I can count maybe on one hand, announce and then release in the span of time that we did for Arkham Shadow. It was, I think, a span about 5.5 months between announcement and then release. That's a very short amount of time to build awareness, to build trust with the community. That was really hard. And when the game launched, or when the game was announced via a teaser trailer on May 1st last year, um, the internet was less than kind, let's just say. It had millions of, yeah, the internet, are you kidding me? It had
Really?
millions of views of this teaser trailer. So you think, oh, what a great, huge success for this VR game. It's getting millions of views on this their teaser trailer. But then you start looking at the comments, which people tell you not to look at the comments. But I looked at every comment, and I couldn't stop looking at the comments. And then I started looking on YouTube and watching videos where people were saying things about me and the company, about the game. Pretty hurt. Like, well, I think they could be hurtful things, but there was something about this game, and there was something about the community that made it so it just didn't hurt. It it just got me excited, and I had to stop myself like at night from like watching all of these videos where people are so upset that like what is this thing, and like we didn't ask for this thing, and how would this even work in VR, and it probably is going to look not great, and of course there's not going to be combat, and there's probably not even going to be a story, and all of this stuff, and I'm just smiling, I'm thinking, okay, now the game's out, I can start interacting with people, and I can work with them and tell them, no, we do have combat, and yes, we do have a story, and yes, and we're gonna reveal the stuff over time. And it all really culminated with like the last piece that people wanted to see. They liked aspects of the teaser trailer. They liked aspects of our story trailer at Summer Game Fest. It started to feel pretty authentic to them, but they wanted to see what the gameplay was, and they wanted to see what it's going to look like from a visual perspective for VR. And that's what we did at Gamescom. And one of my favorite moments in game development was just having people come in. First of all, showing that trailer and seeing a lot of people just all of a sudden get really excited and say, like, yes, it's actually what this guy has been saying. this is a real video game. This is a real authentic entry to the Arkham franchise. And then to have people play it at Gamescom and then come out, of those demos just singing the praises of the game. Just it was so rewarding. And I just wanted to stay at I wanted to stay at Gamescom, so I stayed later. Actually, I actually extended my trip. I was having such a good time. Just maybe I need it for my soul after like how the game
Sure.
was announced. And I was like, one more day, like give me one more day in Germany, just so I can maybe be around more people who are just so excited about what we're doing, and then be able to bring that excitement back to the team. And then we just cranked for the remaining 2 months to get this game out there. So that was the journey I went on last year, and never thought I'd be one to be jumping in the Discord and Twitter and YouTube comments, answering people's questions and interacting with them. I don't know if I was ever really built for that, but I just loved it so much. And I loved how they contributed and how they, and I guess I'll end on this note. Because I did a kind of a retrospective internally within Meta that I think is fair to share here, which is when we're reflecting on the ups and downs of the project and that initial not so great reception to the game's announcement, I told the group what I told people back in May, which is we better hope that people, whether they like it or not, that they're reacting, because that shows that they care. And what you don't want is to upload a trailer and then nobody's talking about it, because that shows that like maybe they don't care or there's not enough awareness. And so we had a great problem. Even if people were confused or upset, they are showing us that they care. And now we can engage with them and start that conversation, which then I think ended with I think just with, like literally with tears coming down my eyes at launch, looking at people's comments and saying like how much they love the game. And what an amazing journey that we all got to go on for 5.5 months.
It is, and the happiest of endings, hopefully, with many more awards. And I look forward to seeing what comes in 1.4. Yeah, hopefully, like you say, February. So it's not too long to wait. Wait, no, was it not February?
Yeah, no, we're aiming right now. I don't think we have a official release date, but we're aiming for end of like late February for 1.4. So yeah, just
Awesome.
more to come.
So, I look forward to that so much, and thank you so much for your time today. I very much appreciate.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a pleasure. I would happily steal the rest of your day, but you have a day still. So yeah, I just thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, John. Good luck at the DICE Awards, hopefully. And a VR
Thank you,
award
Paul. Thank you, Doctor.
outside of the categories, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. Well, all eyes on the DICE Awards. That's the next one, and so we're really excited to be there. And yeah, guys, great show, and thanks for having me on. That's been big honor. Looking forward to meeting with you guys, and so keep up the good work, and let me know what you think of 1.3, 1.4 when you have a chance to play.
Absolutely will. Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, Ryan.